Good morning, everybody. Well,
Good morning.
what a special day this is, and wonderful turnout. We have a full room here, and for as many people as we have here, there's about an equal number of people connected remotely here to honor Dr. Stofman. And what is today about? Today is really about passion, about excellence, about the tradition and ethos of Pitt Plastic Surgery, of our Mercy Hospital community, about camaraderie. And we have the opportunity today to hear some reflections and thoughts from Dr. Stofman from his 3.5 decade long career here in Pittsburgh. And that's a really very special event. And Dr. Stofman has been a pillar of our plastic surgery program for the last 34 years. And it is just such a great privilege to be able to have him take this time to share some thoughts and enlighten this group. So Dr. Stofman was born in Philadelphia, but grew up in Miami, where he was a scholar athlete, inducted into the Miami Beach Senior High School Hall of Fame. He then went on to do his undergraduate studies at Villanova, where again, he was a scholar athlete, excelling academically, and also playing safety on the Villanova Division I college football team. He then went to Jefferson Medical College and stayed at Jeff for training in general surgery, his preliminary general surgery training, an otolaryngology residency, and then fortunately moved a little bit west to Pittsburgh, where he trained in the University of Pittsburgh plastic surgery program. Dr. Stofman has been a leader in our hospital community, serving as chief of plastic surgery at Mercy Hospital, chair of the credentials committee, and many other local leadership positions. He's been a leader regionally and nationally in the plastic surgery community, serving as president of the Ivy Society, president of the Pittsburgh Surgical Society, and numerous committee chair posts and leadership positions in national societies. He's a member of the prestigious American Association of Plastic Surgeons, and has been president of our alumni society for Pitt Plastic Surgery, filling the shoes of Dr. Shestak, who had done that role before. He's an inventor and innovator with 3 patents, clinical investigator with multiple publications and presentations, and impactful work changing our practice. He's an educator. He's been our faculty teacher of the year, a very prestigious honor in the Pitt Plastic Surgery program. He's received the Daniel J. Dillon, MD, Teaching Award for Surgical Resonance at Mercy, and has been a preceptor for high school students, college students, PA students, residents, medical students, at every level. He's been a teacher and an educator. He's been involved with community service, serving on the board of the American Cancer Society and Big Brothers of America, and has done humanitarian surgical work in Haiti, serving as a LEAP Haiti surgical disaster team leader with an on-the-ground surgical team. And of course, we know him as an outstanding surgeon, delivering thoughtful and compassionate care, and with an incredibly wide breadth of skill across plastic surgery. And we are just so fortunate to have Dr. Stofman here today giving his thoughts. Dr. Stofman, have a warm round of applause.
I can't get through the first slide. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I've been doing this a long time, and honestly, it's the first time I ever felt nervous. I've got the war room right in front of me right here, so I'm worried that if it goes bad, I'll be taking bullets. So anyway, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for the opportunity for not only me to present to you, but to have you here today is very special in my heart. I can't believe for the first time as I stand here before you, it's hard to fathom that I walked these halls for the first time 34 years ago. That I've been blessed because I've had this amazing career, touching close to 100,000 lives, teaching over 100 residents, but most importantly, being associated with the smartest and the brightest surgeons really on the planet. So today I'm going to reflect on my career. I'm going to try to highlight those that have helped me on this way and perhaps give you a pearl or two that I thought might have helping you on your pathway to your accomplishments, and actually everybody in this room to greatness as well. So how does this start? Well, it's very simple. It starts with passion. We throw that around all the time. What is passion? Well, it's being excited about something. You start to develop a mindset at a very young age that when you accomplish something, it feels good. A child, when he can catch a ball, he giggles. Then you start to understand that for victory, you need an effort. It doesn't come easy. It becomes a commitment. Then as you commit yourself to the task at hand, and then you see the results, it becomes a circle. Winning doesn't have to be just at a game. It could be mastering a musical instrument. It could be a dance step. It could be the best debater on the debate team. It's creating a mindset. I'm not a fan of participation trophies. I think losing is important. And I think with losing comes frustration. After that, you work better, you work harder. You play to win. Here, when you catch a glimpse of your potential, that's when the passion is born. Zig Ziglar was a door-to-door salesman in the 50s. He became a motivational speaker and turned into one of the most prolific speakers of his age. So it's got to start with your roots, right? So Peter mentioned that in 1989, I came to Pitt. Dr. Howard Eatington at the War Room table was my chief resident. Mike White was in his first year of practice. I can remember the horrors of going through that. And standing in the back row, we have Bill Wooden, who is now the program director at Indiana. Parham is going to spend some time with him in the next few years. Next to him was Peter McKenna in private practice in Cincinnati, a Cincinnati top doctor. The next person in plastic surgery needs no introduction, but it's Mike Benz. He was chief of plastic surgery at Wisconsin for over 20 some odd years, and actually chief of surgery at Wisconsin as well, which made us all proud. And then president of the American Board of Plastic Surgery. It just goes on, but this was a who's who Renaissance man in plastic surgery. And then to his left was Michael Wheatley. And Mike worked in the Northwest in Portland, Oregon, the Kaiser Permanente hospital system, as well as the VA. Sitting was Bobby Hine, starting from your right to left. His claim to fame that he was the plastic surgeon in charge at the federal building Oklahoma bombing at that time and took care of the casualties. Next to him, Ronnie Hollins, chief of plastic surgery at the University of Nebraska for years, myself, and then Tim Jones, my last co-resident, another otolaryngologist who ended up now is practicing ENT in Oklahoma, but he started his career at WashU. And one of his accomplishments is he was one of the first in the world to do a composite transplant, microsurgical, a renal transplant patient who was immunosuppressed, squamous cell of the scalp. They took the majority of his scalp off. Tim took a cadaver rectus, hooked it into his neck under the microscope, used the patient's autologous skin, and it was one of the early first reportings of autologous tissue transplants. So let's get back to this other stuff, this winning stuff. It isn't everything, but it's pretty damn important. It's a mindset. It's an attitude that sets the mind and body in motion to excel at the task at hand. It's mastering the difficult operation. It's figuring out the most complex problem. It's the challenges that lie before you. These two superstars, as you see pictured here, this is winning. This was the first time and history was made at the American Society of Plastic Surgery when our own Joe Losi, who was president at the time, passed the responsibility on to our own Peter Rubin. And it was the first time in history that the same institution was represented back to back. Are you starting to get it a little? Pitt's kind of a decent place. I don't know if you're catching on, but this has made Pitt so proud. I love this quote resonate with everyone. The key is not the will to win, because everybody wants to win, right? Everybody wants to be a winner, but it's the will to prepare to win that separates all of us. That's the most important thing. And that was a guy named Bobby Knight, who was famous for winning just a little bit and throwing chairs when it didn't go his way. So motivation, by definition, is a process of inducing and stimulating an individual to act in a certain manner. Very simply, being just okay for everybody in this room should not be okay. It starts by believing in yourself. It's the tool that's going to drive you to get better every day. It basically is GEIGID. And the superstar in the front of this room that basically started this culture, Dr. J. William Futrell, every communication to this day, as he's going to talk to me after this lecture and tell me that I had misspelled words in my slides. And then he's going to end it with GEIGID. And I heard that every day for 3 years. And I started to dream about it. And then all of a sudden, I started to perform by these words, GEIGID, GEIGID. And that's when the mindset, that's creating it. So the question is, who's not going to let me, but it's who's going to stop me. Ayn Rand, she was a Russian-American psychotherapist in the 50s. I look at this and what an amazing group of people I had. Fred Heckler was chief of plastic surgery for years at Allegheny General Hospital. He had a sixth sense of plastic surgery that can't be taught. He was an absolute brilliant genius of a surgeon. Mike Benz, and then Mike White, who's in the front, who is now the superstar pillar of our education program. He runs our M&Ms, compassionate, kind, unbelievably skilled. As a matter of fact, he was my surgeon. So I don't know if I need to say anything more, but I'm blessed to have him in my life. So Jesse Goldstein alluded to in his ceremony when he was an endowed chair in pediatric plastic surgery research at the Children's Hospital. And he talked about during his journey who to be grateful to. So I just need to spend a few seconds. This is story time, guys. It's not science. So if I bore you, get some coffee. My beautiful mother died at 60 years old. That's what smoking does to you. So don't do that. And my grandmother, I was raised in Miami Beach, as Peter alluded to, came from a divorced family. And it wasn't very pretty where I lived, but we had tons of love and a lot of fun. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment. My grandmother slept on the couch so I can have a bedroom. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. My father was very accomplished. He was a cardiothoracic surgeon at Jefferson. Somehow I got into Jeff. I don't know how that happened, but he was not father of the year, I can tell you. He was tough, and that's because he didn't know any other way. Hopkins surgical trained, and if he could, he would have walked around my house in a white coat. But I will tell you that what he did for me, and this is what I tell the residents, it's not about teaching, it's leading by example. He worked hard, incredibly accomplished, and I wanted to please him. And that's all it needed to be. And so my motivation to get where I am today was because of him, because I was the only one of my friends to actually go to college, excluding my college buddies. This gentleman right here with his arms around me was my little league football coach. And to give you an idea what kind of knucklehead I was, he caught me smoking at an arcade when I was in 7th grade. And it was a bad day for me. And he said to me, you're going to regret this. And in August heat, I'll never forget, it was on a Sunday that he caught me. He ran me in 100-degree heat from 5:30 that afternoon till almost 8 o'clock. And I can remember circling the track, stopping to throw up, feeling paresthesias in my fingers and my toes, thinking that's normal. I probably had heat stroke. I would have died if I did it today. And I can remember my mother screaming, Alex, Alex, you can't do this to him. He's got asthma. Something. And he said, you shut up, Annie. Can you imagine today what would happen? All right. The mother goes out on the court. The coach tells her, you shut up, or essentially, and there you go. But it was my defining moment because I could have quit. But there was something that was telling me at that time, you're going to get through this. You're going to throw up your liver, but whatever it is, you're going to get through this. And that's part of the foundation. That's the frustration we all need. The next person is Stephen Cohen, a dear friend of mine for over 50 years. He's been through life and death situations with me, and everything that you can imagine, but has always given me the appropriate advice. I'm very grateful for him if he's on the Zoom. This bottom row, again, needs no introduction. The chief, established our culture, took a chance on a kid from Miami Beach whose greatest thing that he brought to the table was really passion, because there wasn't a ton of research. There was a few publications, but when we interviewed, all we talked about was football. I figured that was going to be a bad day, and somehow I ended up at Pitt. And for him, I am so grateful because he gave me the opportunity when no one would even interview a kid from E&T, but he was an innovator. And he just looked for what he wanted, a formula that was his best of the best, and I made the cut. So I love you for that. You saw Dr. Rubin. You want to talk about a Leonardo da Vinci of this century, a Renaissance man with a kind heart, and just always, he cares. And we're going to talk about caring a little bit because you don't see that in everybody. And I'm so grateful that he's given me, allowed me to stay on. And then this young lady, nothing now, but we'll hear more about her later. Accolades, accomplishments. Oh, they're fun. Everybody loves to be recognized, but they're really sidebars. Remember, we in this room are no better than anybody else. We started out all the same, but somehow somebody paved our way. Our parents, special guardians, they deserve the accolades. Because if it's not for them, maybe we're reading about us in the paper. You do things because it's the right thing to do, not because you're looking for ego or a trophy. Peter mentioned it, but as far as my career, the things that meant the most to me was being a part of the Association of Plastic Surgery. It's our academic society, being actually a membership by nomination from your peers, and then being a teacher of the year here and at Pitt. That's all I needed. After that, no more participation trophies. You'll never actually feel the joys of accomplishment unless you love yourself. Success can be difficult to deal with, but you got to stay in the center. I say focused. If you let your success define you, then you're really setting yourself up to failure. How about this? The great Goldie Hawn, huh? How about that? So you establish friendships, you develop trust. Covet this and never break it. My three amigos, my three college buddies, Peter Christus, a pillar at Morgan Stanley. Tony Petrone was the assistant DA in Philadelphia and became the most powerful criminal attorney. It's people like this. We've been through funerals, weddings, bar mitzvahs. If I'm in the middle in nowhere and I make one phone call, one of these two are going to get me. That's what you all need. Because with trust comes loyalty. It's important both at home and in the workplace. You need friends around you. They have our back. They pick you up when you're down. You need to be able to confidently depend on people. You can share ideas, strategies, seek advice. Because if you don't do this, it's a sign of weakness. You don't have to agree. And there's a lot of times in this hospital that Skip has bailed me out for not agreeing. But you have to agree to have dialogue. That's important. It's all about relationships. And I want you to remember that because too many doctors get caught up and get distracted. The very first job of a leader is to inspire trust. And that's the famous Stephen Covey. So you come into this game and failure is not an option. Expect setbacks and challenges. There'll be hurdles, but this builds your character as you overcome them. Your response to failure is your true litmus test. Here with Ken Shestak, maybe one of the greatest breast surgeons in the country now and forever, a dear friend and a colleague for these 35 years. Failure, I love this quote, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. How many times do you hear that in the operating room? That's what M&M is all about. Do it again, just do it better. This next slide was a discussion that Francesco and I were just having a few weeks ago, and it's about being self-critical. You've got to assess your results. Don't lie to yourself. It's not enough that your patients are happy, and that's important. But the most important thing is that you strive yourself to get better. Your techniques over the years of your career, they're going to change over time. Technology is going to force that. But it's about making yourself better constantly. You pursue opportunities to better yourself, and that's where education comes in. You are going to learn until the last day of your life. And that's what is so amazing about medicine. It's your greatest weapon for your own success. In the inner courtroom of my mind, mine is the only judgment that counts, so remember that. And what a pleasure to be here with Francesco, Young Zhao Zhu, one of our administrative chiefs. This is how you have fun in the operating room. You just try to make it better every day. And I am just so blessed. Be inquisitive, because the wise one asks. If it doesn't make sense, figure it out. Don't always take no for an answer. I certainly didn't. Sometimes it got me in trouble, but the impossible sometimes becomes possible. Be the difference maker. If you don't know, ask. The sign of weakness is leaving a question going unanswered. Don't always accept dogma. Things like, don't shower a surgical wound. No, just leave a bandage on it for 3 days with crusting pus and blood, and maybe add some adhesive to it, sebum and sweat. Wounds love that. Come on. How about steri-strips are good? Certainly if you like blisters and erythema. Or how about bacitracin cures infections? Put bacitracin on your cheek every day for 10 days. 70% you're going to get a dermatitis. Under Bill Futrell's guidance, we were transplanting dog mandibles 25 years ago. If we just accept dogma, we would never do that. We did this 25 years before the first face transplant. Kia Washington, one of our magnificent residents, she was transplanting eyes in rodents, and that's probably going to be the future of how we see. I love this quote. I have no particular talents. I'm just inquisitive. You ever hear of a guy, Albert Einstein? Smart guy. So this is a wonderful slide. I've already talked about Mike. I don't want to talk about him too much because I don't know what'll happen. But anyway, Jaime Garza, one of our graduates, played for the New Orleans Saints. Then comes to Pitt as a plastic surgery resident, patented incredible face mask for the NBA, has been head of the board of reagents for the Texas health system, and still today is a tremendous innovator with his science and use of fat. This was my smartphone. I hope Sai's on now. Sai Ramasastry was an Englishman, and every day at 4 o'clock, you could be sewing omentum into the sphenoid. Sai would leave, and he'd go to the cafeteria, right? And he'd have pie and tea. You couldn't disturb him. Had pie and tea. So it's my second day here. A guy is welding a methane gas tank, but the problem is methane was in it. He blew off his femur, and it's hanging out. If I don't cover it, it's a hip disarticulation. And I don't know what to do. I call Sai. He goes, "Oh, yes, I'm having tea." And I said, "Sai, I got this guy. This is like my first big case. What do you think I should do?" He didn't talk me through it. He says, "I'll be right there." He gets in his car. He comes to Mercy. He goes, "Well, this is what I would do. I would take this and I'd do that and do this, and it's just anatomy. Just move it around." And that's what I did. I just, scared to death. My perineum's in my neck. But this was my smartphone. This is the person who really I'm so endeared to. There's a book, Talent is Overrated by Jeff Colvin. Everybody needs to take a picture of this. He talks about a concept of deliberate focus. I made my kids read this. It's about practice with a purpose. It's not about, oh, you go to a tennis court and you throw a ball across for 4 hours. It's taking a square foot on that court and you spend your entire 4 hours trying to get the ball to that square foot. That's the deliberate focus. He talks about the first one on, last one off mentality, and it's real. You don't need to be the brightest guy in the classroom. You just got to outwork everybody. I don't want any of you to settle, because settling is just giving in. Frustration's okay. Let it motivate you and not deter you. These two giants, Vu Nguyen, Cody Azari. Vu is here. Somewhere he's so kind, so loving. I have the privilege to drink with him every journal club. He's always there for me when I'm either complaining about residents or joying about them. And he always gives me the word of wisdom that I need to settle myself down. An incredible surgeon. And again, he is really, he's the WD-40 that really makes this role an amazing human being. Vu, thanks for being here. Cody Azari, head of the orthopedic hand service at UCLA, first round draft choice. He goes 1 or 2. Good judgment comes from experience. And a lot of that comes from bad judgment. We talked about in the lounge yesterday, and that was by Will Rogers, but that was a Skip Sell saying that happens often when he's telling us about our bad judgment. Establish a work ethic early. It's got to be a knee-jerk reaction. We talked first one on, last one off. It pays off. It's not easy, guys. You've got to make time for everything. Don't focus on one thing in your life, especially your family. It happens too much. Get involved in everything, your kids, your wife, your significant others, and then be great at what you do on top of all of that. Here with Ross Musgrave, from the first class of the Pitt Plastic Surgery residents, was president of the American Society of Plastic Surgery. He was a showman, he was a theaterman. He developed a practice that he actually has been inherited by a Pitt alumni in this city. And with this quote, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. Think about that. Vidal Sassoon, a single salon in Southern California that turned into hundreds across the country, multiple millions of dollars, and it came just with work. Seize opportunity and create it. Look for windows. You got to think outside the box. Ordinary becomes that. Innovate, get involved, create programs, recruit superstars. We've done that pretty well. That will be your legacy. Be likable. Likability is key. If you're a jerk, doesn't matter how good you are, it's going to take away from your success. You can be firm and you can set expectations, but definitely be likable. Don't be soft. Kindness can be weakness. It's okay to ask for help. Don't forget your roots. Pay it back. Be loyal to those that have helped you on the way. And remember, it's all about karma. Good karma will be recognized right away. Bad karma might take a little bit of time, but in the end, even the bad guys will get bit. Every wall is a door, Ralph Emerson, and here with this giant, literally giant, either that or I need to put on some weight here. But anyway, Jimmy Resavage, a work ethic bar none, was with me as an OMF resident, and I can tell you, there's no greater guy on the planet. It's about the team, guys. It's team building. You can't do this alone. Surround yourself with good people. Don't tolerate poor performances, but set expectations so that they know what is expected of them. Acknowledge work done well. If the person cleaning your operating room is doing a great job, you better let them know it, because you can't do it without them. So I think kindness in this respect is critical for you to get people to help you along your way. Have the backs of the people that have yours. Protect them. Even if it's going to put you a little bit at risk, you've got to fight for the little guy. Build meaningful relationships. And boy, have we done that. We have at this table here, we have Lindsay, we have Anna, Jay, our darling Carla, who I get yelled at every time if I don't say good morning to her. Alexis, the front row, of course. There's Lori, but a special shout out here to Kim and Amy. Kim has been with me now for almost 14 years. Amy closing in on 9 or 10. They're just selfless, kind-hearted, hardworking, loving people, and kind of the glue that keeps us together here at Mercy. And so I'm incredibly indebted to them. My career would have ended a long time ago if they both left me. I need a shout out to Kim Elkins. I don't know if she's here, but again, selfless, helps me with the alumni. I can't type, I can't have time dictate, and without her, I don't know what I would do. Kathy Pavlik, if she's on, spent so many years helping us and was forced into retirement just recently. Michelle Gigliotti with really put this together. Where's Michelle? Thank you so much. She's just really just so special. Lisa, I saw Lisa earlier today, and again, she's helped me when times have needed. And now Danielle has taken over the surgery program here, and she's working so hard. So just a timeout with a thank you, thank you. Resiliency is the capacity to withstand and recover quickly from difficulties. It's toughness. But with resiliency, you've got to learn, you've got to embrace change, adapt to it, and then make it better. In the beginning, it might not be what you want. When you're good, stay there. It's back to believing in yourself. It's that simple. And then you're going to have battles. Let me tell you, I know it, some I create. But at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, is this the fight? Is this the hill that you want to die on? And make it either move on, it's an adult conversation, and go to the next one. Because if you want it to be a big deal, you listening? If you want something to be a big deal, it will be. If you let it go away, most of the time it does. Do your best, be your best. And that's all it's asked. Resiliency, huh? Anybody could sit home and nurture a bad foot, but when it's coming to drinking at a graduation party, that is resiliency. All right? We will either find a way or we will make one. Hannibal, I think I would have liked him actually. I think. Everybody in this room is separated from everyone else for one thing, and that is to teach. That is our responsibility. It's our greatest virtue. We must teach the next generation. Let them learn from your triumphs, and most importantly, your failures. The better you make those around you, the stronger your team, and that is your legacy. Never, never operate alone. Why do I say that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. That was one of the first dogmas when we came to Pitt as residents. We're all scared to death. We don't know what to expect. We're in what we call a war room, and Dr. Futrell's at the head. He said, there's 3 things that you're going to have to do if you're going to be a Pitt resident. You're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have to be on time and never operate alone. And we never really knew what he meant by it. So the years go by. I'm a chief resident at Pitt. I'm board certified in ENT by that time, and I knew my way around the nose. And I'm doing a rhinoplasty by myself. I didn't think anything of it, actually. Oh, hey, Guy, what are you doing? Dr. Futrell walks into my OR. And I'm like, and he never does that. Never. He knew what was going on. And he says, well, hey, how's it going? I said, really? He says, who else is here? Well, they just left. No, he knew that, and he says to me, well, good. I want you to enjoy this operation because you have to meet me in the office afterward. And now I don't even think I finished it. My heart's, I'm dying. I'm sweating. I'm going, oh my God, that's all I can think about. What's going to happen to me? I go upstairs. He says to me, hey, you're Stofman, you're a hotshot, huh? Yeah, you're a punk. He goes, you think this is a big deal, huh? What are you showing off or whatever? And I said, no, as you do this again, I'm gonna throw you out of the program. And this wasn't a threat. This was a statement. So I said, yes, sir. And it never happened again. It hasn't happened in 34 years since. I teach the techs because I'm afraid that he might come into my operating room. I interviewed him not too long ago and I asked him this. I said, I never asked why. And I said to him, why was this so important to you? What's the deal with this operating alone stuff? And he said to me very simply, he said, if you're teaching, you're performing, you're thinking, you're at a higher level, you're on your A game, and you need to be that way all the time. And you know what? It made sense. So I took a teaching moment with our great Ben Scott. Where is he? Oh, Ben, hold on, we'll get there. I got to get back to Ben. This is what happens when you hold on. I knew there had to be one faux pas. I've only practiced this talk 600 times. And here with Ben Scott, and then this, teaching our specialty is our greatest legacy. This was the plastic surgeon Da Vinci. He was the greatest thinker of the last century. And he said some very important things, but this was certainly one of them. This may sound like a given, perhaps superficial, but I don't want to challenge your integrity. But you've got to care. How you care about people and things define you. If you don't care, you've lost part of your soul. Again, thank your parents, right? Because they set the standard, the right guidance, the right mentorship. I love this quote: nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's Teddy Roosevelt. This, my oldest son, Chet, he cares. He's got it. And you know what? Being around him, you start to care as well. We talk about mentorship. Have a mentor, be a mentor. By definition, a relationship between two people where the individual with more experience, knowledge, and connections passes it along the way to someone more junior. And I have to beg to disagree with that, actually. It does require mutual respect. You do lead by example, and you should be accomplished. You should be there to create opportunities. But remember, this is age unrelated. A 6-year-old trying to accomplish a task could mentor you by how they approach their task at hand. I get mentored every day in my office by one particular individual, and I look forward to it. Dr. Futrell and Peter, these are my professional mentors, two people that every day I still want to be like, because they set by example. They have a work ethic bar none. And everything I've said so far, they're the epitome. Now, I need to just spend a few minutes just talking about mentors in my life. Elementary school, separated for 50 years. I come back, I never knew what happened to him. We had nothing as kids. Comes back, creates a fortune, has anything and everything he wants, but he gives back. And that's what I love about him. He mentors me on how to be kind and give back. That's Marcos Marjane. Jim Savage, the giant. It's his work ethic. Here, Ian Valario, Galen Walkman, Austin, Texas, two superstar surgeons that as residents showed me the way. Loving, kind, Vu. Wolfgang Loskin, for those of you that didn't know him, he was chief of craniofacial surgery, taught me that at Children's in the 80s, in the early 90s. He's the one that established the greatness of really children's hospital craniofacial surgery today. Joe Losi, yet so young, so accomplished, and always really says and does the right thing. Fred Heckler, we talked about. This is Rich Greco. Our fathers were cardiothoracic fellows together in the first heart operation ever performed in the world at Jefferson on a heart-lung machine. We went to med school together, we did surgery together, and unbelievably went to Pitt together. Why do I bring him up? Not only is he incredibly good to us, but he's got a practice of 8 that have stayed together for 15 plus years or more. And every time he needs somebody, he comes to us because he knows it's the Pitt way. Cody Azari, we talked about Tim Nevin, private practice, kind. I speak to him all the time, whether it's a collegial conversation about what he needs to do, but just so special. Sarah Holland, Christine DiEduardo, Megan Norchasm Griffith, Ed Lee, another chief out of the Pitt greatness, chief of plastic surgery at Rutgers. These are amazing young women. Not only were they incredibly accomplished, they were unbelievable wives, incredible mothers, and yet were the top of the food chain in what they did. Something I could never have done. Doug Newton, may he rest in peace, probably the best microsurgeon to ever walk the planet. He could put a 11-0 nylon in a rat's eyeball. Here, Mike Benz, Ramon Huey, a genius, was a Fulbright scholar, spent a year with me as a fellow here at Mercy Hospital, and then went on to greatness. And no introduction for Ernie Manders, who's not here today, but hopefully he's on the Zoom. Ernie's a genius, and I learn from him every day. Don Mackay, 20 years ago, we're at the association. He and I had 2 young kids that had a problem. He was treating it one way, and I was treating it with like a smack in the head. And he berated me and said, "You are just doing a disservice to this child," because he was struggling. It's my youngest. And I took Don's advice, went back, changed how I approached him. Then he gets a near perfect score in the SATs and gets into the Berklee School of Music. It's because of you, Don. If you're on, I thank you. Certainly, last but not least on this page is my number one mentor. It's my partner, Francesco Egro. Malignant enthusiasm has the ability to just turn the most mundane thing into something special. Outside the box thinker. He's an inspiration for this lecture. As we move forward, we mentioned earlier, Dr. Ken Shestak, he started the Alumni Association. And then when he retired, he passed it on to me. And we started this little thing called the Residence Corner. Joanna Ng was actually first. And she did such a magnificent job that when she left, I thought I lost my whoopee. And I was so upset, I didn't know what to do. I called for volunteers. Josh volunteered. And not only did he kill it, but he mentored those for the next generation. Barris is doing a killer job as well. And he's just so kind and just such a likable person. This is what you want your son to be like. Walter Joseph, Isaac James, two young superstars. One left us to LA, the other stayed. And we're so fortunate to have Isaac doing his aesthetic fellowship at the Cleveland Clinic. Liz Maroney, she's climbing some rock somewhere in the country, but so beautiful, so smart, so likable. This is what your daughter, you want them to be like her. We talked about Joanna Ng. Here we have Stephanie Dreyfus, again in Atlanta, incredible. Oz, where's Oz? I'm here. I see him all of a sudden. I want to do jumping jacks. Absolutely one of my favorite. You want to talk about a talented surgeon. If I needed neurosurgery, although Mike Lang, I think, is in the office, Mike would do it first. But if Mike's not there, I give the manual to Oz, and Oz does neurosurgery. He's that good. All right, Jay Calvert, Dr. Futrell, Jaime Garza, Ken Shestak. Talk about a war room. This was we could have started a hospital of plastic surgery with this crew. Jay Calvert, one of the best rhinoplasty surgeons in the country, comes to Pitt all the time, gives back. That's mentorship. Spin, easy peasy. Nothing is too much for him. Incredible. Congratulations on a newborn. One of our administrative chiefs, Greg Fideli, private practice. I recruited him in the early 90s. He was so talented, carving pumpkins, playing drums, but amazing surgeon. He's been a driving force throughout my career. Mike Morello, hopefully he's on Zoom. He just got operated on because he paid his dues. And Mike, if you're on the Zoom, we thank you for your service. 2 Purple Hearts, Awards of Valor, an extraordinary resident. And he's going to be sticking around doing a hand fellowship, so we're very lucky. Kind, sweet Samantha. Samantha and Zhao both, they got into the best aesthetic fellowship in the country. We're so proud. This was Joe. This was Bill Schwartz, microsurgical pioneer that started it for all of us. Here was a very good dear friend, John Moore, was my chief resident in general surgery. At 53, developed a malignant thymoma, and it killed him. It metastasized, and he died at 53 years old. Johan Nazarian Sassoon, my first real fellow, taught me way more than I taught him. I feel bad for him because I beat him up. I was tough in those days, but regardless, he flourished. He's in Long Island. I hear from him all the time. Was invited to his kid's bar mitzvah. That's what relationships are about. Nick Panetta, Jared Keefe. Okay, Pitt, I'm gonna stop bragging. Chief of Plastic Surgery at the University of South Florida. Chief of Plastic Surgery at Iowa. Good job, Peter. Jaime Garza, Kenny Odene, private practice, Lafayette, Louisiana. One of the kindest, incredible surgeons. We talk all the time about difficult cases. Jigs, no word, there's only one Jigs. Here, Ramon Yui, we talked about Ramon. And Ramon was, again, he was a genius. He was on the team that discovered chimerism. So not a slouch by any means. And then Howard Langstein, my first partner at Mercy Hospital, came right out of MD Anderson, then went back to MD Anderson to become their program director, and another chief of plastic surgery at the University of Rochester. Eddie Davison was at Case, and they had their own problems, but he's in private practice in Palm Beach, but an incredible Pitt alumni. And then certainly last but not least, where is she? Where's Justine? Justine Kim doing an orthopedic hand fellowship. And guess what? She's going to be a Mercyite in September. Treat her well because she is a badass. So I'm going to tell you right now, we're pretty lucky to have her aboard. The future of Mercy plastic surgery with these two bookends is going to be pretty good. I'd like to spend just a few moments, and we're winding down, so you can stop looking at your watches. I'll put a laser on you. Courage, the strength of mind to carry on despite danger or difficulty. Winston Churchill said, fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. I love that. But it's not us courage. It's the patients that we operate on. They're the patients of courage. And as we move forward, I'm going to highlight just a few cases that I've done through my career. I've done thousands with, plastic surgeons, we just show and tell. So this today is not about that. But this is about the story, 18 years old, in a life-threatening car accident with a traumatic brain injury that leaves her with a total right paralysis, can't move her right side. And during her critical care recovery, she sloughs her distal thumb on the left hand, and it's her only functioning hand. So with a lot of VHS cassette educational videos, remember VHS, guys? They were this big. My kid used to put peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the thing, and I'd get new ones like every 3 months. So I watched a bunch of videos, and then with an orthopedic intern, just the two of us, with a bunch of notes, turn the next page, I do a toe to thumb on this kid, and it works beautifully. And I'm all excited, and we get her through it, but this is the story. So 18 years later, she comes to me for a breast reduction. How awesome is that? And I catch up, and I take pictures of a functioning thumb, 80% recovery on her right side, and a wedding band. That is the story. So this is how we change lives. This next case was an American Society of Plastic Surgery patient of courage. She was a very good kid, so there's no stigma that should be attached to this. She was, quote, on a date with somebody that she had just been going out with, knew nothing about the guy. They go to a house party, which turned into be a drug deal, which she didn't know. Her boyfriend, quote unquote, was tied to a chair, and they blew his head off at short range with a shotgun. And because she witnessed it, they shot her in the face too with the attempt to kill her. She lies and plays dead. And when everybody leaves, she actually gets up and is walking the streets near Kennywood, knocking on doors. A minister opens the door. Oh my God. And this is how they deliver her. So it's not about necessarily what we did, but it's damage control, debridement. Next couple of days, she gets a peck, which I harvested kind of neat through her breast crease so that she had no scars on her chest. I put this into her floor of mouth, put in a plate to create mandible width and length, and then we babysit this for a little bit. She goes on, she gets a microsurgical latissimus transfer in her neck to recruit additional tissue. And then with the genius of Mark Ox, because this is trauma, not cancer, we do something that's only been done a handful of times in the world. And we take iliac crest and cancellous bone, and on my plate, he puts a titanium tray, and we fill it with morphogenic proteins in cancellous bone, which is really basic science at its best. Then we wait 7 or 8 months, and we create a mandible from angle to angle, so sturdy that she undergoes dental restoration. And with 2 years of interventions, here she is. She became a social worker, raised her 2 beautiful children alone. She comes back all the time. It's all about the story. Lastly, there's a patient that was just featured in Mercy's bulletin 2 months ago. This amazing young lady was in a life-threatening car accident in Altoona. The car blew up, there was a fatality with the accident, and it was so charred that everything in it was unrecognizable. The emergency personnel leave. Tow truck driver is putting the car on the bed and hears moans. Looks in, and there's a body in this carnage. And all of a sudden, she gets life flighted back to here with an 85% body burn. The majority of her face was third-degree burned. She lost all 4 limbs. So you got to think about it. You're young, you're attractive, and now how does your life start? Well, you have 2 options, right? You throw in the towel or you move on. Multiple operations, sheet grafting, lip releases, nostril repositioning, eyelid releases. And why was she in our bulletin? Here she was 2 months ago in her chair, no limbs, back to putting herself together, but she started a blog. She's a motivational speaker. She has thousands of followers. And this was the picture she sent me. I'm not scared. She's incredible. The importance of family. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to have a stable home life if you want to be great. You don't want to bring a disaster at home into what you do at work because it's going to affect you. Family is everything. They're your greatest priority. Do not let them down. This montage is my crew trying to get 7 kids together now and they're all over the country. It's like herding butterflies. But boy, is it special when they all are together. The most important thing in the world is family and love, and that's John Wooden. And John Wooden was essentially maybe considered the greatest basketball coach of all time. You got to have fun, guys. Shoot stuff, dance in the OR, drive fast cars, get sideways at a party, act silly, catch fish with friends, take your boat to the Bahamas, and travel the world. You're not going to regret the things you did, but you're going to regret the things that you didn't. There was a guy, Randy Pausch, professor at CMU, died of pancreatic cancer, wrote a book, How to Live While Dying. You must read it. It's a one-day read. And it talks about all the things that are just so important in your life that aren't important if you're not taking them for granted. And he said, never underestimate the importance of having fun. A very, very special guy. The future of Pitt, it's very bright. We have some amazing people here. This culture of excellence that has persisted for over 40 years shows no sign of slowing. Our new recruiting faculty are each and of themselves amazing. So I see no signs of this wavering. You all have very reason to be proud as Pitt continues. So as I close, with gratitude and grace, it's the OR. Sammy, 25 years. Cheryl, 30 years. Who's that? A graduate or roommate. A new member, Nicole Jarrett, of our faculty, head of our hand service. Tracy Hagan, one of our old PAs who was so dedicated. Here, dear Tracy, dear Lynn, they're the glue that keeps us together. God, I bother her so much, and all she does is okay. So I'm so grateful for her. She's so special. With gratitude and grace, the Surgery Lounge. I figured 80% of my morning life had started in Mercy Surgical Lounge. Here, we solved the world's problems. We created our reality TV shows. We bonded like a band of surgical brothers and sisters, and this bond has become everlasting. These guys, they had my back. These discussions made me better. They made me more confident in the operating room. And if you take Dr. Sell's advice on aggressive behavior, he made me a better shooter. With gratitude and grace, these 2 amazing gentlemen, boys, you had my back geez, you had my back when nobody did. And you welcomed me into your life, into your homes. You gave me the confidence to do whatever I needed to do. And if it went sideways, it was never, Guy, what are you doing? It was, don't worry, I got your back. Just do it. And it's you guys that made me that much better, because I don't know if I could have done it without you. I'm just so grateful to you both. And I love you so. When Skip texts me today, or not today, but every day, he says, hey, call me. And then there's a dash. And he goes, don't worry, it's all good. Because most of the time when it's call me, you're in trouble again. So I appreciate him. With gratitude and grace, I couldn't, again, I've said it so much, but it can't be said enough. to these two gentlemen, I will think of you every day of my life. You gave me opportunity, you created opportunity, and you've led me along the way. For that, incredibly indebted, and I can honestly say I love you both. Dr. Vuccello and Peter, I thank you. Last but not least, this young lady, she needs no introduction. She is the glue that keeps the family together. She puts up with me, which is no easy task sometimes. And at the same token, she's kind. She always thinks about the underdog. She always does the right thing. And so with gratitude and grace, my beautiful Lori, as beautiful as she is outside, she's that beautiful inside. I love you, darling. So I want to thank everyone here, to all of you that have led to my development, that have become part of my DNA, my friendships, the residents, my colleagues, and my patients. If there's someone out there that I didn't mention, it's only because I didn't have the time. But each of you have become so much a part of my soul, and it's something that I cherish. Literally, I'm the luckiest guy on earth. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, and God bless.
Questions for Dr. Stofman?
And Thursday. You can warm up and then stretch in some weights and then they can do like 30.
I hear voices from the heaven.
Yeah, might as well, if you're not.
Let's maybe mute. Hey, Guy, that was just incredible. What an amazing talk. What fantastic reflections. And, you know, hearing that, I know I can speak for everyone in the room, that you make us all feel so special to be part of this amazing culture and this amazing legacy. And we thank you for being part of that, for leading us, for mentoring us, for being such a great friend and colleague. And as most everyone knows, one of the great honors that we bestow from our department is the awarding of a Pitt Panther. And this one is engraved honoring Dr. Guy M. Stofman for his years of outstanding service and dedication, May 15th, 2024. So again, a warm round of applause for Dr. Stofman.